Ravens fans, we are very, very close to 15.5 thousand subscribers here on Ravens Rundown. Just 80 away from that next milestone for the latest happenings on your favorite team as we're talking about the draft, free agency, trade rumors, and more. Subscribe now for free as we're talking Ravens football all offseason long. Best part about it, it is absolutely 100% free to subscribe to the channel. Join the family, and we'll get started with today's show. It is deadline day for several Baltimore Ravens players as we will find out whether they will have their contracts voided and the Ravens will move on from them or if they will stick around and remain with the Baltimore Ravens. We already know the decision on a couple of different players, but we'll catch you up to speed on some of the others where things stand right now. The 5 players in particular that we are paying close attention to include Gus Edwards at the running back position, OBJ at the wide receiver position, Kevin Zeitler at the offensive guard spot, Geno Stone at safety, and then there's Rock Ya-Sin at the cornerback position. And I can tell you this right now, as the hours near, as we get closer and closer to this deadline, we have a pretty good idea of what exactly is going to go down. We had the deal for Nelson Agholor yesterday, where he agreed to a 1-year, $3.25 million extension. That's going to keep him in Baltimore next year. An extension for him, and well-deserved after the season that he had, as he was a sneaky good impact player for this Baltimore Ravens team, a real X-factor of sorts, playing in all 17 regular season games with 3 starts this past season. His numbers solid as well, 35 catches, 381 yards, 4 touchdowns. Also saw a little bit of action in the postseason as well. 3 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown score. I like Nelson Agholor. He's a sneaky good football player, and with as cheap of the cost that you're looking at with Nelson Agholor, just over $3 million, there was no reason to simply let him walk away. I understand the Ravens don't have a ton of money, ton of cap space to spend, but there's more good that it comes with keeping him rather than just letting him go anywhere else for free. It made sense on the Ravens' end. Meanwhile, what about everybody else? Brian McFarland reporting the following this afternoon. The Ravens initially had 7 players whose contracts would have been voided today, totaling $23.617 million. They reached extensions with Pierce and Agholor. Agholor, like we told you about, Pierce was earlier, and restructured OBJ to remove his void years. We'll tell you more about OBJ in just a second. The remaining 4 players, Zeitler, Edwards, Ya-Sin, Stone, count 8.3 as dead money on the 2024 cap. We'll have more on those guys in just a second. Now, when it comes to Nelson Agholor, that extension, I think it's a home run. I think that's an A for me because you get a good football player at a very cheap price and add depth to that receiving core. To me, that's a home run. What do you guys think? How would you grade the extension of Nelson Agholor with the Baltimore Ravens? A, B, C, D, or F? Chime in the comment section or pin comment today. Let us know what you think of that extension for the Ravens wide receiver. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose 2 or more players on any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points, maybe it's passing yards, rushing yards, whatever it may be. All sorts of different categories and different leagues to choose from the NBA, NFL, college football, golf, NASCAR, NHL, and more. Today I'm focusing on the Daytona 500, the Great American Race in progress right now from Daytona International Speedway. Happy to report that our Prize Picks at the moment are still alive right now. Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace both in contention at the time of this recording for this race. We got Tyler Reddick to have more than 20.5 fantasy points. Bubba Wallace to have more than 45.5 fantasy points. Let's say we put $20 down, both those hit. We're making $60 on Prize Picks. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS for a $100 deposit match. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. That's PrizePicks.com/CLNS to play along with us today and get that $100 deposit match with promo code CLNS. All right, let's run through these void year players one by one. Let's start with Gus Edwards. He's expected to be voided. And for the Baltimore Ravens, although Gus has done a very good job as one of the leading backs for this Baltimore Ravens team the last couple of seasons, and coming off the injury that he had a couple years ago, he's been a steady ship, one of the most consistent running backs for this Ravens team. They're looking to void from him and move on because they'd like to get younger at the running back position, quite frankly. You bring back Keaton Mitchell, and that's certainly going to help, but then probably going to draft another running back and then maybe even upgrade from there, whether it's a Derrick Henry or a Saquon Barkley, a Josh Jacobs, somewhere like that. It doesn't appear that the Ravens have long-term plans for Gus Edwards, that the Gus bus, the gas has run out of the bus, essentially. They're ready to move on. He's going to be voided. OBJ, he is taking on a restructuring, which will keep him in Baltimore for the foreseeable future. And with OBJ, we saw the flashes last year, right? And I would say that the optimistic thing about OBJ going into 2024 is that he finally started to come into his own in the second half of the season, right? What we saw from him initially was the injuries and a slow start trying to adapt to Todd Monken's offense, but then he really started to get going later on, and he found where he belonged in this Ravens offense. And we've talked about it within the last couple of weeks. You have the investigation going on with Zay Flowers right now. You need experience, and you don't know what Zay Flowers' status is going to be. You bring back Nelson Agholor. We don't know about Rashad Bateman either. You need OBJ at least for one more year. We can have this discussion next year potentially about OBJ's future, but at least for now, makes a ton of sense to bring back OBJ. What do you guys think? Should the Ravens cut Odell Beckham? Type OBJ for yes. Type no BJ for no. That's OBJ for yes. No BJ for no. Let us know in the comments section. Kevin Zeitler, his days appear to be numbered in Baltimore. His years expected to be voided. And with him and John Simpson likely out for Baltimore, expect a major overhaul for the Ravens when it comes to the interior of the offensive line. You do have Tyler Linderbaum at that center spot, and he's one of the best centers, if not the best center in all of football. But you need some real help on the offensive guard spots. I would not be surprised if you see the Ravens with their early round draft picks really target to try to get some help at those offensive guard spots and see what they can do to get younger and upgrade those positions there. Geno Stone, he appears to be on his way out as well. And it's not for a lack of trying. Geno Stone had a fantastic 2023 season. He was second in the league in interceptions with 7. But the constant theme that we saw from Geno Stone was that he was never having good days when Kyle Hamilton was having good days. They struggled to be on the same page together. And when you look at that safety room and the secondary for the Ravens, there's just not enough for everybody to go around. And I think in Geno Stone's case, nobody's saying he's not a good football player, but there's just not enough space for everybody. And he's kind of the odd man out in this equation here. He had a very good season. Nobody's denying that. But as far as the future and the long-term plans go, those are with Kyle Hamilton. They aren't with Geno Stone. And so I think Geno Stone is ultimately going to walk and he'll go somewhere else. Who knows? Maybe he might follow Mike McDonald to Seattle potentially there on that front. Who's the player the Ravens should cut from this current roster? Weigh in the comment section. Give us a couple names that come to mind that you think the Ravens should ultimately move on from. Let us know. Last on this list is Rock Ya-Sin. And I got to tell you, I was very disappointed in Rock Ya-Sin in 2023. This was somebody that was expected to come in and be the number 2 corner for this Ravens team on the opposite side of Marlon Humphrey. And Rock Ya-Sin struggled to stay healthy, was never really that impact player the Ravens expected him to be. He's going to be voided. He is going to be done with this Ravens team. And he got passed up on the depth chart throughout the year by Brandon Stevens, Ronald Darby, among other guys here. It was disappointing. Rock Ya-Sin was supposed to be a lot more than what he was, and this is an easy decision, probably the easiest decision of all of them for the Ravens to ultimately move on from. Appreciate you joining us here on the channel here on this Monday as we continue to cover your Baltimore Ravens like no one else does. Subscribe now for free. Any more moves throughout this offseason, we're going to cover it here on the channel. Subscribe now, and we'll see you next time.